We have a very special show for you. Kind of a surprise for the crew and also for our special guest. I usually have one special guest on who obviously is a drummer most of the times. And sometimes I'll have two special guests who are usually drummers. Today I'm having three special guests, and one of them's a drummer, although we might say they're all drummers in mind because they play so well together. And I'd almost have to say there's a mystery fourth member of this band playing bass. We'll have to experience how that all happened, because in the control room when they're playing, I hear a bass player, but I don't see one. My co-host today, John J.R. Robinson. Introduce your bandmates.
Thanks, Don, and thank you for everything. These are my bandmates. It sounds just so, it actually sounds perfect. This is Andrew Synowiec on guitar and Mitch Towne on Hammond organ and mystery bass.
Lefty.
Left hand.
Lefty and left foot.
We need a name for the bass.
Oh, yeah, we'll call him On Time.
Yeah, we'll call him bottom.
Yeah, bottom. Anyway, our band is SRT, Synowiec, Robinson, Towne, and we've assembled probably for about a year now, and we're slowly developing, branding, doing a digital imprint. We've already got a record that's going to be released this year, and we've aligned with Drum Channel and Don and this great crew here to record 3 more songs, and that's what we've been doing for the last 2 days.
But you're not only going to hear those songs on Drum Channel, on our website and our YouTube, you're going to get into the minds of these gentlemen. We've had an amazing couple of days here where it's not just a matter of hearing the end result of what they're doing, but kind of backing up and hearing how that end result occurred as a result of, obviously, their individual craftsmanship, because they're all great musicians, but coming together as a group also. In looking at forming as a group, give a quick rundown on how you got together and your vision of having a trio without a bass player.
Well, even before I'd met Mitch and Andrew, I've done so many recordings and then live things, and I've always fantasized and envisioned playing in a trio, because first of all, it's a trio 3, triangular. It's small. It's small amount of people, but it's actually stronger being 3. And so as time went on, and a couple of years ago, I was getting kind of hungry with maybe putting, the COVID made everybody start thinking, and maybe thinking correctly. And I put together this Rufus and Shaka clone band, which was what, 6, 7 pieces? Well, how many guys we
I don't think you ever said that before.
I kind of call it a clone band, but what it was, not a clown band. That was the band I was. No, never mind. What we did was we incorporated a lot of my hits. That led into, we did a couple of concerts in Omaha at this beautiful club called the Jewel, which is owned and managed by our manager Brian McKenna. And but then Mitch kind of on the side goes, and plus Mitch is a homie like me. I'm from Iowa. He's from Iowa originally. Lives in Omaha, and he kind of mentioned the word trio, but he didn't really like, hey man, let's put a trio together.
No, what I said was, you ever thought about making an organ trio record? And you texted me back, yeah. And I said, well, I know an organ player. And you texted back, I know a drummer. And that's how we started.
That's how we started. So he and I were running stuff by each other. And then Andrew and I had met. I don't know if we had done sessions before that big one.
Yeah, a few.
I thought so.
The big one being?
We did, a year and a half or so ago, Brad Pitt's movie, Bullet Train. And we didn't know what we were going to do. And they come in, we're going to do Staying Alive again. I mean, how many times has that been cut?
Not again, but it was like,
Not
I
for
think
us.
the directive was we need to like recreate it down 1-to-1 kind of thing.
For this particular movie, and they also use it as
in Japanese.
Well, that was later.
Right.
But that...
well, that was kind of the gag, is like, as you're watching the movie, you hear, this is the original that I'm hearing, but then when the vocal comes in, wait, it's in Japanese.
Right.
They did this session together, and so when JR said, I got the right, because we needed a third to complete a trio, and he's like, this is the guy, it was Andrew Synowiec.
All right.
And it worked because, anyway, meeting the right three guys, including myself, because it's bringing out a part of me that I really needed to expose. And I thank you for, helping allow that, and especially with your beautiful 50th anniversary and the drums.
And your 50th anniversary.
My 50th anniversary of, yes, in the industry, which is, we all started in vaudeville, didn't we?
Yeah. And if you younger drummers out there aren't that aware of JR's career, you can go ahead onto Wikipedia. Don't print it out because you'll bury a whole forest in paper. But you talk about, and you mentioned it so casually, what they did, talking about the earlier project, a compilation of your hits. There's over 500 million songs that you
almost 500 million
records.
500 million
sales, right?
Yeah, I wished I had a little percentage on that.
I got a story about that, Don. JR sent me. I was helping him with his bio, like rewriting his bio, and he sent me an Excel document that has all of his sessions in it, like A to Z. And I opened it up on my pretty new MacBook Pro, and I start to scroll through it, and the fans on my computer kick on because the document is so large. As you start to scroll, it's like, it's like there's so much memory needed to cover that whole thing. And so I'm scrolling through, and I texted him. I said, "You're on L is for Lover by Al Jarreau. I love that record." And he texted me back, "I am?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're on 6 tracks on it." He's like, "Oh, okay." It's like he's done so much stuff, he's forgotten some of it.
Well, and some is deservedly so.
Not that one. That's a great record.
But we're very, very grateful.
And a question for you, JR. I can envision through your entire life in the studios, you played what was needed for the song, which is, your extreme talent. But you probably drove home that night thinking, God, I could have put this in there, I could have put that in there. And now he's like out of the closet, if you will. I've heard these guys play, and we were in an event, actually it was DW's 50th anniversary, with some really good drummers there. And it was set up where the band was in a room and people were talking and catching up kind of a little bit around the corner. So we didn't see, but we kind of heard. And all of a sudden, I'm getting these comments like, "Is that JR? That's JR? JR's in, that's JR." I mean, the chops and the way it fit in, I can just, it's a different JR. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, you're letting it,
let me explain
letting it loose.
4 sentences.
One.
That's it. That's it. That's pretty funny.
This is the way the band keeps, this is the way they work together.
No, they F with me hard. And that's good because I used to be the youngest guy in the band. Now I'm the oldest guy in the band. It's like, whoa, okay. Leaving, I was in Boston, went to Berkeley, blah, 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 playing everything, always in trios and all sorts of just different kinds of groups. And I became the recording drummer at Berkeley, so I became a chameleon. And, okay, here, you're going to hear these 4 clicks. What's a click? I don't know. But you're going to play this Thad Jones Mel Lewis chart. Just play it. Okay, how'd I do? You were great. Next chart, blah, blah, blah. So get out, move to Los Angeles. I was very much influenced by Billy Cobham at one point, to a point where it wasn't necessarily, it was overkill. And so then I joined Rufus in '78, and everybody set me down and said, "Don't play that." And I'm going, "What do you mean? I've been working my butt off to play like that." He goes, "We don't want that. Don't play like that." And then I got with Quincy, and Quincy says, you're dancing too much. So what you do is in your brain, well, what do you do? One of my great instructors, Ed Soph, which I'll say it without insulting him, is an incredible, one of the greatest teachers of all time and greatest musicians, mostly jazz. That's what he does. And he didn't really want to cross over. So what do? Do you cross over? Do you try to do everything? And my whole adage, and this will be 4, is, would you rather be in a band for your whole life, one band, or would you rather be in 1,000 bands? So me as 1,000 bands. So this is band 1,000.
And one.
And one. Well, yeah. Well, that was after those punch-ins.
Right.
Yeah. So
Band 1000, but in my mind, it's kind of like band 1 as I'm looking at you as a drummer, because
It's fun.
It's different when you're kind of in the camaraderie you guys have. It's a trio. It's really a band. JR's taking input from the other guys. They're taking input from each other. Go into the studio, and you're going to see this because we've captured it all on video. Them figuring out what they're going to be playing in a few minutes when they're out there tapping on the table. You do your part, you do your part. They sing through a rehearsal, which I think is really educational. They kind of hear it before they sit down and play it. And then there's the opportunity to go in if you want to and punch in and make little tweaks and changes to get it exactly the way you would want. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. There's nothing like a live band in a room.
Right.
In my mind. I don't want to be showing my age, but I don't think there is. I think it's just part of human nature to have that conversation.
Yeah.
It's
And
timeless.
then to use technology
Yeah,
too a little
timeless,
bit.
that's right.
Yeah. So what is your experience in sitting in the band? How you would see it, Andrew?
Well, first I have a question. When you moved out here, did you have a goal of, I want to be a session player, or were you just like, the weather's great and they have beaches? And
No, I wasn't that guy. Even though I had long blonde hair. Like, let me see how long yours is.
It's getting
It
there.
wasn't quite that long, but it was fluffy.
It could be fluffy.
Okay. Yeah, okay, he can go fluffy.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, no, we're gonna have to retake that with his hair down. Wow, it was a good question.
Like,
what was
were
the
you
question?
like, I'm gonna come out here and be
All right.
session guy number one?
Let me tell you guys
Or were you
something.
like, I want to be in a band?
This is a great
or-
answer because I know
Let
the
me
answer.
tell you guys something. First of all, I'm doing a book. And this is not a plug, but yes, it is.
Everything's a plug.
I'm doing a book, and I'm not doing a friggin' drum book. I actually don't. There's a specific drum book out now I hate, and I'm not going to mention it. But I'm doing a soul-searching, good answer, positive, hopefully New York book, and that's going to come out. So in that book, we're talking about. I targeted 5 drummers. Now that could sound evil or mysterious.
Targeted meaning tried to kind of
Zeroed in
emulate?
on-
I zeroed in on them. So I'm using targeted because I'm a Southwest Iowa pheasant hunter. So blah, blah. So I'll tell you who they are. Steve Gadd, Jeff Picaro, Peter Erskine, Billy Cobham, and Harvey Mason. Because of that genre that's how we figured I fit in. You know, I mean, of course we were listening to Elvin and Tony and Joe and Philly and Buddy, of course, to me is the greatest, and I hate to say great of anybody, everybody's great, but greatest drum soloist of all time, as I think you would attest. I mean, it's freaky.
Definitely.
You know, guys like Vinny are just absolutely crazy. And, you know, and Vinny and Steve and I were in the same classes together.
Wow.
And stuff. But I targeted them because I got to get out of Boston. So I was going to New York. We were all going to New York. There was 20 of us. And then New York dried up. And so, all right, I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to go to LA. But I didn't have to make the decision. It was made for me by when Rufus came into the club.
Got it.
But when I got in here, there was a completely active session world of great drummers. There were 20 of them
Oh, yeah.
working every day somewhere. And I kind of like, and I didn't work for 11 months. So I used to hustle basketball at Balboa Park in 1978. I made $20 a day
Wow.
playing basketball.
Amazing.
And that was kind of fun until I got in a fight with Jackie Jackson. There's another story.
When you say targeted,
Save it for the book.
When you say targeted, you mean you wanted those gigs?
I'm not that guy.
Okay.
I'm not going to go try to steal bread out of somebody's
But you
house.
wanted that thing that they did.
I wanted,
you wanted
yeah,
to be on that call.
they
level.
had New York and LA captured
Okay.
with session work. That's what I wanted.
You wanted to be in that
loop.
In that loop. Gotcha.
In that loop. So that's what it is. I mean, I didn't even discover that the beaches were cold.
Yeah. The water.
Yeah, you don't go in the water.
No.
You know, they're beautiful, but
Those guys, I think, had the same evolution or revolution in their lives too, from some of them who I've talked to, where it was a point where it's like, no, you can't do that here in the studio. You know, in the studio, we're looking for a different version of what you want to do.
right.
And that's why they would all love to go play at all the clubs at night. 'Cause
Dante's.
they would get it. There was 5 or 6 great clubs. You could go down any night of the week and hear the top drummers in the world sitting in, playing with their friends, because that was kind of their release. And I've talked to some of them, and they had to do that. Like, I got to get I got to get out. I've been in the studio for 8-10 hours today. I've got to get to the club.
Like Shelley.
Shelley for sure. Yeah.
There's another unbelievable drummer.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Who had his own club, Shelley's Manhole, for years. So you're coming up. What's happening with the band? You got some
you want to
future
do
dates.
it? Mitch, you're going to take it over.
Yeah, well, we have some. We're going to go out of the country coming up this year. We're going to be getting out on the road. We're going to be going to Japan in June. We're going to be hitting the East Coast in July. We're going to be filling some stuff in before that, but right now those are the things that are pretty sure on the calendar.
Tell them where we're at.
Well, I don't want to say where we're going to be until. I like to have contracts
check the website.
signed. Yeah, we have the website, SRT
and if we can plug that.
Yeah, srtgroove.com. That's where you're going to find information about us. You'll see our videos. We got a lot of, we have a lot of content there. We're going to be adding more content. Some of the stuff that we recorded here will be available there. But this is just a really exciting time to put together a trio like this and to get out and really, play in front of people. Because that's especially after 2020, it's just so exciting to get out and play for people. And for me to be able to play with guys like Andrew and JR is like a dream come true. So it's like, this is really going to be an exciting year.
Yeah.
Mitch told a great story when they went into the control room between takes about why he did what he did based off of what JR did. And it was something that wasn't rehearsed and actually hadn't happened before, but where JR took it allowed where you were taking it. And that's the importance of listening.
That's the joy of a trio like this, is that we are all listening, and it's really a great mix of arrangement and then freedom. Everything that so for like these 3 tunes that we recorded here, we met over Zoom once. We talked about Staying Alive. It was like, what can we do different with Staying Alive? And so we talked through an arrangement. Andrew made up a quick demo. I wrote up a chart ignoring his demo, and then he reminded me of what was on the demo, so I fixed the chart.
As bands do.
As bands do.
Oh, we put it together, and it's kind of best of both worlds.
Right, exactly. And so there's, in a group like this, there's arrangement, and then there's, improvisation. That's basically what jazz is. There's a form, and you kind of stick to it, but then there's freedom to kind of go wherever. And so that's what's great about this trio, is we're all listening. JR's got huge ears. So when I do a little thing, like we were talking about, when I drop down on the bass part, he changes what he's doing, and it just creates this lift, and that'll, and that's happening under Andrew's solo, and all of a sudden it gives him a different idea. Is just a really great melding of minds, and all with the focus of creating a good final product that's not just this is my solo and I'm doing my thing. It's like we're really trying to make a whole package, not
conversation.
Right. Here's not my feature,
right.
And here's my thing now. It's like we're just really trying to make it a conversation.
And if I must, I will chime in. We've all studied the masters.
Right.
Sure.
From the old days. We're always listening to, Dexter Gordon or anything from the past. And when you listen to these records, they listen to each other. They listened. They had to listen. And so the concept of this is great. We're not just out there thrashing, even though we can. And we have on Elton John.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember, he even forgot about that one.
Now, wait a minute. You got to tell that story. What?
We did, what was that movie?
Rocket Man.
We did Rocket Man live. And it was kind of like the books were written for each of us. It was very hip.
Yeah.
John Beale, composer.
Conductor.
Conductor, yeah, that's right, conductor. And, that Elton guy was a composer.
Yeah, I think that Elton guy. He did show up for the
He
for the
did
gig,
show
yeah.
up. And there was a couple of moments on this, it's just brilliant, playing with a huge orchestra, playing his music.
That was not playing with Elton John, but the orchestra playing.
Elton played with us at the end.
Okay.
And then Taron Edgerton was there all the time. It was phenomenal. But there was a couple of songs we got to rock out hard on. And but you could feel like, oh shit, the bassoon or the oboe player is going to kill me,
Right.
We don't really care.
I think they had you behind the cone of shame.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. The cone of shame.
Staying Alive is one of the tracks that you did here today. Let's go through the other 2 quickly. You wrote one, correct?
Yeah, I wrote a tune called Insomnia.
How much did it end up being yours by the time they got done looking
Oh,
at
it's
it?
all his.
Oh, no, it's
still
mine.
is.
It's mine. I get all the publishing.
Okay.
All right. The royalties. What is it based on?
Well, it's based on, I mean, actually, I guess it is a collaboration because it's kind of based on what we discussed on that call, which was like, it'd be cool to have something like that we could all kind of play.
Yeah, but
that's
you
kind of
know.
notey. And
Listen, we'll all get our tastes. It doesn't matter.
so anyway, the idea was to have something kind of notey and up-tempo and like impressive sounding.
It was hard to play.
It was fun, though.
It was fun. And then it became more fun once we all became one, which was really kind of an interesting point. Because I came, because we set up yesterday. Yeah, blew down a little bit, say, what are we going to do? Let's try that. And then Kevin got Kevin got it and recorded a demo. But then we didn't listen to, all of us decided not to listen to the demos today. We're not listening to what we did. Let's just come back out and do it fresh. And we had a couple of run-throughs. I'm overplaying, I'm not thinking. And then pretty soon it all went whap.
By take two, really.
Yeah.
Well, this is the perfect example of kind of what we're talking about when it comes to the spontaneity of things happening. So we worked on Staying Alive, and we pretty much knew how that was going to go. You know what the feel of Staying Alive is, unless you're just going to swing it, which would be stupid. I knew how that was going to feel when I was practicing it at home. But in Insomnia, all we had was a demo of Andrew playing it with a click. At about 1:30 is where is where the tune is. And so I learned the head with him so I could play it in unison. But I had no idea what feel JR was going to put to it. I didn't know if he was going to
Nor did I.
swing it. Right. So that
didn't know
really
I was
affects
gonna do it.
me when it
Right.
comes to what am I going to play for the bass part? What am I going to walk it? Am I going to halftime? What am I going to do? And it was really like, okay, I just have to be ready for a few different things. And when we got here, it's like, okay, so that's what he's going to do. So now I have to come up with a bass part to kind of go along with that.
Right.
So that was kind of an exciting thing coming here. It's like, what's Insomnia going to sound like? I had an idea, but I didn't know. And so that was kind of fun.
And then make it our own,
And then make it our own.
which
I had
is
to make
not
it
a
our own.
conscious effort, but it's something that's automatic.
Right.
Let's hear a little bit of that.
That's kind of where we fall off. Yeah, not yet. Get a mark up here, Kevin. Right here.
Nice solo.
Wait a minute, I can't believe you played that.
Yeah. Wait a minute. That was what you were playing?
Hey, you actually asked me about a note, and we all looked at because one of his solos, and then he played this note that it was probably like a raised five.
It was, I don't know, something weird.
It was something weird, and so it took me back to John Laporta, who was one of my professors. He was my professor at jazz camp when I was a little boy. He was in Four Brothers with Woody Herman. Then he was a professor at Berkeley. He's an older dude, just a great cat. And John used to go, Ron Carter, man, every time Ron would play, he could play any note on any chord and it would always work. And I thought about that. And I go, he's right. It's right. It's all about the presentation and the delivery. And Herbie explains that a lot recently, so well done.
All right.
And the third tune that you played today?
It was from our old band Rufus, called You Got the Love, written by Ray Parker. And he loves Ray, and he's played with Ray, and I play with Ray a lot. And it's kind of it's a big song, and it's a song for vocals. So we had the challenge of making that fit us, A, and B, making it our own, and try not to. What do? We want to have Shaka Khan and our layered vocals and this massive thing. So it eventually worked its way out and turned out unbelievable.
It actually fits in an organ trio context
yeah.
really
Really
well.
works.
Yeah.
And we went through a couple of takes, and here's the clincher for all you tech heads. The first 2 songs we did use click. The third song we did not use a click. And Andrew starts it, and
That line is killer.
it's just killer. It's killer.
Ode to Ray Parker.
Yeah, Ode to Ray. Ode to Ray.
Very underrated player. Ray.
Oh yeah.
Ray will be our private pilot, by the way, in the future.
I like it.
Yeah.
We even get into the mics that they use, talking about you tech geeks out there. You'll understand exactly how they mic'd everything. And you can see this on YouTube, on Drum Channel, on your website, which again is
SRTgroove.com.
great. And I can't thank you enough for
Don.
allowing us to share
Absolutely.
part of this great success that I feel coming here
Thank
as
you,
you
Don.
guys get out there
Thank
and
you,
tour a
Don.
little bit. You've got to check this out. You're not only going to hear great music, but when you listen to them play, the more you can think about why they're doing what they're doing. Our mantra here on Drum Channel a lot is learn how to play, learn what to play. A lot of people have those experiences, but the one that they often miss out is why do they play it? So it's the how, the what, and the why.
Yeah.
And you're going to get all 3 of those from all 3 gentlemen. And check out JR Uncovered. See what he's doing here in this band. It's pretty wild. Thank you all again.
Thank
you.
you.
Look
Thanks to
forward
the
to
great
more.
crew.
Yeah.
Kevin, wherever you are, I know you're there. You are. Ah,
Everybody here at Drum Channel's been fabulous.
yeah. And this
Great
is
thing.
such a great room, by the way. I'm glad that we were out. And this is like driving a friggin' McLaren, that drum
Yeah.
set. So thank you for letting me drive it.
50 years, and we'll be listening to this band for another 50 years.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you for watching Drum Channel tonight. See you
Thanks,
next
guys.
time.
Next time.
Bye.